Harry hates this picture. Oh yes. Oh, 100% chums, let me tell you. This, of course, was the picture from Time Out magazine. And when you think about it now, it's kind of farcical in a sense, isn't it? Because there is Meghan resplendent in olive green, sporting hair that I've never seen before. Probably she hadn't either until that day. And there's Prince Harry. Now, famously, as many people said, standing behind her like the hairdresser saying, "Your lop's all right. Do you like it? A little bit more volume," that sort of thing. This apparently is one of the imageries that Harry wishes would go away. But at the time, he was literally under, and still remains under, the thumb of his wife, the former cable TV actress Meghan Markle. You see, at the very start of their relationship, things were on an equal level. If you remember, she basically said, that she didn't know that much about him. Well, we all know that was a farce and a lie, right? Now, here's where it gets as ever more interesting, because this particular picture is pivotal, because when it came out, that wasn't the agreed picture. As ever, we have to say allegedly. No, they originally just wanted to have Prince Harry. That's right. And you can check this, because the bottom line was that they thought that might sell a little bit more. But Harry, in his insistence and his blindness to being madly in love, which there's nothing wrong with that, right, Meghan? The bottom line is he insisted it had to be both of them. And this is a pattern that's now followed through time and time and time again with Prince Harry. Right from the off, of course, he was very much pushing the fact that she was a brand new reincarnation, and some suggest he looked towards her rather deeply as, of course, sadly his former mother, who he lost at a young age. But I don't always buy that particular narrative, you see, simply because lots of people lose their parents at young age. Lots of people do not have the luxury that Prince Harry had and remains to have of all of that support. People forget and wipe away the wonderful support that our late Queen and the Duke of Edinburgh gave him. He was never truly alone. He had a lot of things to his access, and they tried their very best to replace what was needed in that period. I thought it was very disingenuous of him regarding his father, His Majesty the King, when he basically said, Charles was a little bit distant. I think we can now see that Charles is very huggy, touchy-feely, and maybe Diana did bring that out of him. Maybe that was the thing that she left behind, her legacy, to show a warmer, caring side to, of course, Prince Charles as he was then. But for Harry to put that in print, very, very disingenuous, I'm sure you'll agree. And in this video, what I wanted to do really, chums, was to point out exactly how literally Harry became, well, handbagged by Meghan Markle. Simply because when you look at it, all the things that he thought were going to happen in his life literally have, well, slid away at a great cost. But when you look back at it in more detail, you can see exactly how Meghan Markle herself detailed this, played along with it, and more importantly, left Harry looking like something of an empty dishcloth in a Cheapside Road cafe, where eventually she'll mop up the mess when she's decided. And we see it time and time again in literally everything that they're doing. Harry, of course, looking very dejected, alone and needing someone at the recent Invictus Games. He struggled to really hold back those tears when he was sat there and they were applauding him. And I thought that was a nice thing for all those brilliant veterans to do. They do owe him something. There's no two ways about it. He has carried on with this. Whatever reasons, the financial things in the background, the profile, whatever. But you could see the tears were not just for the veterans. This is for a man who is literally living on the edge. And really, the other side of the coin is you have his wife thousands of miles away, seemingly very carefree, making her own Instagram videos, using the children to make sure that we're aware of the fact that she's got a TV show coming out. And I often wonder this. Did Harry truly, as she said on that red carpet famously, want, desire and need to be part of the entertainment business? He could have done anything he wanted as a member of the royal family. And I understand, maybe he did want to move away. That's his prerogative. But is this truly the life that he wanted? When he sat down recently with the New York Times to discuss the ongoing battle with the media, News UK, and he was going to slay those dragons, if you remember. Well, famously, he said, I love living in California. This is the life. It's definitely for me. His mouth said it, but his eyes didn't. He clearly cannot say, I'm unhappy, I need some help. I really miss the connection that I had with my family. The one connection that he really did enjoy was a close friendship with Catherine, the Princess of Wales. She's a caring person. You can see that. She would know what the problems are, all thanks to her brother James. And more importantly, Harry chose, rather ungallantly, to wipe her out of the picture too. But as things now develop, I want to take you through with this video exactly how things have gone, well, say, from bad to worse. As ever, let me Markle first met Prince Harry. The story goes, of course, that she said, the only thing I wanted to know was, is he nice? And this was reiterated, well, if you remember, on that orchestrated reality interview with Michelle Hussein. And what was fascinating was, at that point when they came out with that and said they were unhappy with that particular interview, Michelle Hussein uncharacteristically hit back, and rightly so, because obviously her journalistic credibility was now in question. But she was there, she was the woman who did it. So if they didn't like exactly what they were being offered, why didn't they say at the time? But Meghan had a better idea. You see, according to a well-placed source, a former ex-employee, Meghan really wanted to offer the BBC or somebody a pre-filmed version with voiceover, nice soft lighting, underground romantic music. I kid you not. That was the idea, that, you know, she wanted to present herself to the world. You see, she'd seen the likes of Catherine's interview and didn't like that. She thought it was staid and stuffy, and not at all the way that she saw herself as she entered into the British monarchy. At this point, Prince Harry had some power. Yes, it was already dwindling, but he had some power. But he agreed with her that he didn't necessarily like this stiff attitude. He liked talking about himself, as most narcissists do, but of course he didn't necessarily want to have the probing questions. The bigger problem was the questions were all agreed in advance, so there was no real shocks. You know, they knew about how they met and all of that sort of stuff. They knew where that was going. But where it gets really more interesting for me is the fact that obviously Meghan, right from the off, despite all of the things that she'd said about not knowing too much, she knew exactly how she wanted to be portrayed. You remember this sort of engagement picture, the beautiful thing in the frock, where he's looking at her adoringly and she's looking down. That was the princess imagery that she wanted to do. Her Majesty the Queen stepped in and said, this is the way we do things, this is the BBC, you will sit down and do that. That's the reason why Meghan didn't like the orchestrated reality. She didn't want to be told what to do, but given time, she would have the opportunity to twist it in her own version. You get the picture. Now, moving forward, the story about how they met, well, that's a bit of a tissue of lies as well, because she says that I just wanted to know if he was nice. This was allegedly a blind date that they set up, all of that sort of stuff. Not really, when you think about it, because the other side of the coin is, well, they'd already FaceTimed each other, and then he changed his story again, literally, during that particular period. He couldn't decide exactly what story he wanted to give. And this is the problem for Harry with Meghan. He can't stick to the story. She said several people regarding the racism, claims in the Oprah Winfrey. He said one. And, it happened again in the CBS Sunday morning stuff. They can't get their stories right. Whether Harry wants to be on the right side of truth or Meghan simply just wants to do her own thing, who knows? But nonetheless, this is how it played out. Now, again, literally, as their relationship developed, and you can see this, Meghan had done things her own way. She decided that the only way to take control of the British monarchy was to make sure that she had the handle on it. So when we saw them appearing together at the Invictus Games in 2017, she'd already agreed and done the Vanity Fair project, the one that apparently she moaned about again because, the wild about Harry, the backlash. I never bought into that. She knew exactly what she was doing. She was kind of living the dream, wanting to be in the magazines that had all spurned her for so many years. And now, all thanks to this connection, things were happening. Now, of course, Harry had to jump to her defence. And at this point, he had a little bit of power, but not much. It was relatively going very quickly. Now, I've told you before, the biggest turn-off in the Harry and Meghan story, particularly for Meghan Markle, was the fact that the Queen said no, she couldn't appear in the Megxit chat interviews and all that. But apparently, according to an ex-employee, what Meghan wanted to highlight was the treatment that they'd received when they said they were going and all that sort of stuff. Remember the final Commonwealth appearance at the Westminster Abbey in the outfit with the green? Meghan defiantly staring into the camera saying, more or less, I'm in charge now. This is the destiny that I'm planning. Harry, I have to say, was willing to go along with this simply because he'd never had any adventures. Everything had been structured, if you like. And suddenly, whether his time in the army seemed less important, or of course he now couldn't do that, he did struggle with the royal life. He was trying to find a new niche, but he had no idea what was coming. As he famously sat down and said in the Windsor suite at Heathrow, "I'm on the freedom flight." Some people realised at that point he's on the freedom flight to literally flights of fancy, because everything after that was questioned, debated, and really who was telling the truth. But the truth, as we keep finding out with Meghan and Harry, well, that's problematic, but it's not necessary, is it? One of the things that you do notice at the beginning of the relationship as well was the fact that when they were going on the first walkabouts, do you remember, to like Sussex for the first time, or Nottingham, or places like that, Harry very much let Meghan have the spotlight. You know, he's madly in love. He just really is quite happy. Moving forward, when she got inside the monarchy, was upon her arrival at Kensington Palace, lots and lots and lots of things suddenly started to arrive. Designer dresses from the designers that Meghan could have only aspired to even look at in their stores were offering everything. There were jewels, there were makeup, there were perfumes, glamorous shoots offered, you know, from all the top glosses. Everything she'd ever wanted, encapsulated, literally stuffed in the corridors of Kensington Palace. Now, you could be forgiven that she might think, well, I like this, you know, why can't I keep it, you know? And this went to the very top, apparently, because, of course, Queen Elizabeth had to step in and point out very politely that royal protocol said you couldn't. You know, yes, you could certainly wear some of the things as and when, but they all had to be returned. They couldn't be, you know, kept for gain. Meghan, though, was very clever, of course, and according to a very shrewd source, certain things came in packages for other people, as ever, allegedly. But what was good there was, of course, that then they weren't for Meghan, were they, you see? Then they could just be taken away. One might suggest, of course, that the old hat of schlepping around and being a struggling actress, well, it never really leaves you. You have to remember that at this point, the only thing Meghan's really been in, apart from debt, is suits. Everything else had been, you know, wishy-washy. Her father had tried his best with her. Now, I don't buy into the fact that the father is as innocent as all of this, you see, because I think he tried his best, he got lost along the way, but he must have known what he was creating. This cannot be the first time that they had a clash about exactly where they were going to be. Everybody knows, realistically, that he was disinvited from the wedding simply because he didn't fit into the narrative. Some suggest, of course, he wasn't, shall we say, the right fit anymore, didn't suit the lifestyle. And right at that point, William and Catherine realised, where are these friends? You know, when they saw the guest stars of Suits, they think, is this the only people that this woman really knows? Everybody seemed to be an advantageous connection. Nobody seemingly was there because they were like a lifelong friend. And this was the other thing about how Meghan managed to sort of take away the layers of Prince Harry. You see, she could not have Harry round any of her past, and that included her father. Now, the mother is literally more of a, how can we put this nicely? She will go along, right? You know, she's not as quiet and innocent as shy as people literally may think. She plays it very well. We saw that on camera, sitting in the mint green outfit all alone. But she knew the reason why she was there. She's gone along with her daughter a long, long time. But she knows the game. But Harry never thought to say, you know, can you tell me a little bit more about her? She famously said, if you remember, Meghan, well, I didn't need to know about his past because I knew he would tell me what was important. And that really worked out really well for her because, of course, then Harry believed that she would tell him what he thought was important to him as their marriage and their relationship moved forward. You see how this works now. And so consequently, very quickly, she got the enclave built around him. And then what we saw, and this was really prevalent, I think, moving very quickly forward here, was that situation with when they turned up in New York, you know, the one for the Gloria Steinem Award. Harry literally is now playing third banana to a cable TV actress, the mother, and him behind. Now, you could say he's been very well brought up, he has excellent manners, and he knows where he stands with ladies. There's no two ways about that. Impeccable manners. But it doesn't really fit well, does it? I mean, you could understand if this was someone of some higher echelons, maybe another member of royalty, European royalty. But really, he now was so crushed, and you could see this in his eyes. And then they pushed forward with that ridiculous scenario about this Manhattan car chase. But the other side of it is that Harry has been literally ripped away from the layers of people that could advise him. friends that Meghan didn't like because they went hunting, fishing, shooting, and of course his own family, which he pointed out in the interview with The Cut. He had to, of course, lose his father. It's a shame, but he did. Why? Because Charles might say something that Harry didn't like. And really the final layer on the cake came, when you think about it, on the sad demise of Queen Elizabeth. Because at that point, Harry and Meghan thought, well, now's the chance to be free. We can do our own thing. But as Meghan found out, without the backing of royalty, things literally start to spin out of touch. People talk about exactly how Meghan Markle literally markled her own husband, Prince Harry. And everybody has this pinpointed moment where they think this is where it truly happened. We saw it recently over in the Invictus Games. It was really sad, in fact, because Harry looked at points like he was enjoying the moment, But Meghan always looking for the opportunistic moment, the fact that there she is, of course, with these people basking in the glory, always speaking first, always making sure that she gets the attention. And you have to say this, Harry has allowed this. He has literally been walked over on so many levels. It's fascinating when you think. But he is slowly waking up, according to sources. It's taking some time, but how do you pull back on that? There's a problem. But you see, for me, the most pivotal point, and this is exactly where you know how you've got somebody in the palm of your hand, was this. I believe that this is the moment when Prince Harry totally lost all control of exactly where his life was going, and more importantly, what he thought he could do for his wife. It was at the infamous Disney premiere, remember that? Where he was literally caught on camera begging the boss of Disney, Bob Iger, CEO, for voiceover work for his wife. And she's pretending to talk to Jay-Z and Beyonce, but you know that she's listening in thinking, you better get that speech right, boyo, because I need this job. What resulted was some kind of lame voiceover for a Disney documentary with elephants breaking no pots, and allegedly, once again, sort of controversy surrounding what happened to the donation, the fee. Nothing's ever very clear. We know, of course, that Harry and Meghan only devote 1 hour a week to their charitable efforts. So again, you can hardly say this is wondrous stuff, right? Now, moving forward, what's happened is that what you can see now is Meghan Markle is making the very first breakaway independently alone. She's returning back to what she did before she met Harry, without all the connection, all the books, all the frocks, all the jewellery, everything that she's now heavily promoting as her independent woman. When she first met him, of course, she was quite happy to dump all of that, change, of course, her religion once again, and literally be the person that he wanted to be, her to be, should I say. And then, of course, the moment that was in the bag, and some say from the moment he said, I do, things radically changed. And all Meghan's really done is go back to exactly what she wanted. Her plan was never to stay, according to an ex-employee, inside the British monarchy. She always felt that they could have a wider berth of it, in and out, that sort of stuff. Why did it have to be 24/7? They could do so much more. Global ambassadors, that sort of stuff. So you can see that the directive, the drive, has definitely been the way that Meghan's wanted to go forward. But moving now, of course, where we see in 2025, is Harry behind the camera, literally being her slave, if you like, her gopher, her goody guy or whatever, willing to film her at any moment's notice because it's about Meghan. But the problem that you have in this relationship, and this is where I think it's going to be very pragmatic for them both moving forward, is you see it's him that people actually still want. The connection to the monarchy never truly goes away. Even when you think about it, say, with Prince Andrew, another disgraced member of the British monarchy, people are still fascinated by him. It's the way it is. Sarah Ferguson was warmly welcomed back into the monarchy. Apparently, Meghan Markle sees that's the way that their relationship will go in the fullness of time. That they'll realise, in fact, the monarchy, that they need Harry and Meghan for the sprinkle of stardust. All behind the scenes, of course, as Meghan's famously said before, well, Sarah Ferguson's allowed to make books, and Sarah Ferguson's allowed to do all of these things. What's the difference? I'm trying to be independent, create and earn some money. And yes, that is the case. But it is the case, of course, monetising the brand. We remember that Harry and Meghan famously said that the Queen didn't own the words royal. You know, you can't get away from the things that have gone before. Now, moving forward again, it's interesting because in 2025, Prince Harry looked more and more lost, dejected and forlorn than ever before. He came alive at the Invictus Games when Meghan finally left him, and she decided that she had to dash back for her children, you know, the sort of thing. But remember, on one of the biggest days where he could have been, you know, really needing some support, and all of this thing about him having anxiety, fears, you know, trauma, therapy, all the things he discussed on the Oprah Winfrey Show, she decided to love the man that apparently she loves, adores, and is so proud of him, to face the biggest stage, literally, in the world, when he had to attend his father's coronation on May the 6th, all alone. All eyes were on him, but Meghan, of course, made sure that he was dressed head to toe in Christian Dior, hoping, in fact, that they were going to offer the both of them some kind of deal. It never happened, as we all know. But when you think about it, if you look at the relationship and say, how is Prince Harry now? I'm sure he loves his wife, and I'm certainly sure he loves and adores his children. But was this the life that Meghan Markle promised him? Was this the thing where they were going to become independent, very successful, devoting themselves to charities, applauded on the world stage? He's now literally in the media for all the wrong reasons every single day. And even for Prince Harry and his fuddled mind of whatever people suggest he smokes, the bottom line also is he is now looking at a life that even he could have never truly planned. And many people who've been around him say he's still the same sweet, very polite, welcoming person that they remember. That's still there. But the moment Meghan enters the room, apparently, and as ever, allegedly, it's a totally different scenario. And many people suggest, like so many others along the way, ex-friends, former cast members, you know, like Patrick J. Adams, who mistakenly put those pictures up, etc. Well, once you get Markled, there really is no coming back. And so far, many people might suggest that Prince Harry at least has been half Markled. What do you think? As ever, I'd love to know what you think in the comments below. And please comment, be kind and be respectful. Neil Sean in the very heart of London.